Hello and welcome to the latest trades and tutorials video. This is Jeff Bish, president of MarketGauge.com, and in this video I am going to focus on certain trading ideas that you can get from identifying leading stocks and sectors. And I've started this video with a chart, an indicator that we actually have on our site, and I post regularly to my Twitter feed at Market Gauge. So if you're not already following us at Market Gauge and you use Twitter, I recommend you do that. You'll get all kinds of cool stuff in addition to what you're seeing here in these videos. And this is just the launching point, because you could find you could use new highs, stocks hitting new highs, as a way of identifying leaders. And this particular indicator, the green line, the histogram, represents the number of new highs on a given day, and the red equals the number of new lows. So that the other day when I pointed this out on Twitter, I pointed out that new highs popped as the market popped back up over or to its 50-day moving average, and as the Qs broke out to new highs, its new high number popped. And that's what you want to see, kind of like when you'll see Brexit reflex here. You'll notice that even before the market got to new highs, in its index, the number of new highs was really beginning to expand. And the same thing was true in the SPYs or in New York. And so that supports the bigger move up. But in this video, I'm going to show you ways to find leading stocks that don't require that they're necessarily at new highs. Some are, some aren't. But before I get into that, let me just make sure, if you're just finding this video on YouTube, please like us and subscribe to us. If you're finding us on Facebook, please like the video. And as I've already said, if you don't already follow us on Twitter, we've got two handles. One is at Market Gauge and the other one is at Market Minute. Do that for more insight into trading. And finally, if you're not already watching this video on HD, change the settings in the lower right hand corner so that you can see it. It's much clearer. All right, so the essence of this video is not to go over this indicator here, but rather to focus your attention on the fact that we did get a pop in new highs. You could go look at new highs as a source of finding leaders. And the reason to be in leaders is because a leading stock or a leading sector is one that will continue to move higher as the markets break out. So on a day like today, or even yesterday, when the market pulls back as the Qs did after breaking out, one of the great places to go look for trade ideas is stocks that are stronger than the market or leading the market, and they've been pulled back by the market, but they're likely to turn higher. So let's take a look. I'll give you an example of a couple. So, well, Goldman Sachs, as it comes up here, is definitely not what we're looking for. Let's take a look at, if we start with the group SMH. So the semis really have been a leader since Brexit, and even before, having a really strong move to new highs. They followed the Qs to new highs, and today, as the markets have popped, or at least the Qs have popped, SMH is up 1.5%, while the Qs are up about, I don't know, less than a full percent right now. So these are back up looking at the new highs, one of the first groups to be doing that. That's a leader. Now, you can see this in our triple play indicator down here. This is the price leadership line, which indicates when a market or a stock is leading. It's got momentum on its own, not just being pushed by the market. The bottom one, which I'm not going to go over in this video, has to do with volume, a similar concept, but focuses on volume. But SMH's basically tracking the market shows you leadership. And now a different example of leadership, because this one is actually breaking out right to new highs, stronger than the overall market. If we were to look at the Qs, much stronger than the overall market if we look at it on a longer term basis. For example, let's just take a look at the Qs. right? So the Qs over a similar period have moved up and made it to new highs, but SMH, as you can see, just far outperformed, and that's a leader. Now, a different example of a leader is one, so let's say IGT, if we were to take a stock. And if we were to look over longer term, this thing didn't break out until right around in July, but you can see when it did break out, it had really an amazing strength to it. And if we just focus in on this strength of this trend, now that's a leading trend compared to a market. Let's take the Qs, which, while it had a good run here, kind of faded off, and IGT during this time continued to move higher. So what we want to look for is performance where the individual instrument is making, in this case, might be new relative highs that don't have to be 52-week highs. So a really good example of that would be the disk drive makers. This is a good example because these things seem to be heating up in terms of their leadership. Let's just go to WDC first. And if we take a look at these stocks over a longer period of time, it's not exactly what you would think of as a leader. It's been really pounded, but it's spent a long time basing out. But now, as the Qs are attempting to move back to new highs, it may not be the same group of stocks that were at new highs when the Qs started to roll over a couple weeks ago that turn and lead the market higher. It could be stocks that have been basing out. So these are some stocks you want to keep an eye on to see if they maintain this strong trend like that one we saw in IGT just a minute ago. So WDC breaking out over its July and August highs, breaking out over its September highs. At the same time, the Qs are still under their September high. And while, yes, they are breaking out today over their August highs, not nearly to the same extent as WDC. So sometimes a leader doesn't have to be new all-time highs, new 52-week highs. You can find them in bases as well. All right, and this is one of the reasons that we like the leadership line in triple play, because it doesn't necessarily require that you have to be at new highs in order for it to identify an unusually strong stock. So WDC is one that probably should keep your eyes on if the markets do continue to kind of move sideways here. It's gotten a little bit ahead of itself today, but if this pulls back into this support, back to the 10-day moving average, it's a stock that's leading the market, and leading stocks in an environment where the market is heading higher is a good place to be. Now, sticking with that group, STX, nice breakout today. Similar situation in that you can see where, if we were to look at its August highs, they're down here. Its September highs, it's now above them. It's taking out highs quicker than the Qs are. Now, again, this one's a little extended, but had you been focused on this one yesterday, you would have been able to focus on this breakout today. And that's what I mean by keep your eye on these. Now, if this pulls back into the support around the 37.5 level, could be a good opportunity, especially if you understand the opening range reversals, to find a lower priced entry. Nonetheless, this thing is, you can see it on the triple play indicator, this thing is heating up, it's breaking out over key levels, and it could maintain its leadership. Now, another one to keep an eye on, this is a more traditional definition of a leader, Amazon, really accelerating today, but this is an example of a stock that has just not really slowed down. So where the Qs and the S&Ps kind of petered out, went sideways and went down, when the Qs and SPYs went down, this simply went sideways, came right back over the 10-day moving average, and is ramping up right now. This too, I wouldn't chase it higher, but the next time this comes back down to the 10-day moving average, you probably should have it on your radar. And as you can see from a triple play perspective, the triple play has had it on its radar, well, literally since back here at the end of August. When the blue line goes over the red line, that's telling you that the leadership quality of that stock is getting stronger. Back to an example of one that is not necessarily making massive new highs, but instead coming off a base, Micron Technology. So this one hasn't broken out yet from the recent consolidation, but it's clearly had a nice strong trend since July, hasn't let up like the Qs let up, and this is one that you might want to keep an eye on trading if you know how to trade the line, so to speak. I've talked about that in prior videos, in training sessions, some free. This 18 level, 1805, these highs, big inflection point, and this is a breakout you might want to keep on your radar as a leading stock, not necessarily super extended, that if it breaks out could continue in its really consistent and strong trend. So another example with a totally different industry group here, MGM. Similar pattern though, right? And keep in mind there's a way that you can do this kind of down and dirty. You could, as I started off the video by saying, you could go troll through the new 52-week high list. That's a good resource to do it. But also, as you're looking through stocks, look at how they're performing relative to recent swing highs over the last year or so. And when they start breaking out over those critical levels, then certainly with respect to the SPYs, they're running stronger and could become a market leader. So MGM here is sitting well above its summer highs in terms of this consolidation, and that's more than the SPYs can say, that's more than the Qs can say, and a nice breakout over these levels here could lead to kind of a resumption of the trend that looked like that, and a resumption of a trend that looked like that. And if you look closely, you can see that when the market just recently sold off, MGM held up really quite strong. So keep an eye on MGM. And let's go to two more. Now the last one, I feel like I've been really over focusing everybody's attention on it, but this is an area of the market that if it does take off, it will very often be indicative of a market that is going to continue higher, and that is biotech. So biotech on our triple play has been positive really since down in the beginning of September. This is a huge number here, this 300 level, if it breaks it. And if it breaks it, it will be running ahead of where the SPYs are, potentially running ahead of where the Qs are. And it, as you can see, it came off this low with a really strong leadership quality that just really has paused as it's digested breaking out of this base, set up another base. So IBB, if it breaks out over this level, you may, well, certainly I will expect that we're going to see another leg higher that will climb in a very consistent and strong way. And certainly if the market is moving higher and this is leading the market higher, this is an area you're going to want to be focused on. And finally, FedEx, well, the gap higher makes it hard to feel like you're getting in at a good price. This is a stock which, having broken out of this consolidation that it was stuck in pretty much for the whole year, and now starting to trend higher, is one that I would keep an eye on as a potential leader, especially if the market, as I said, holds up. Doesn't necessarily have to break out to new highs and roar as a market, but FedEx looks pretty well positioned to take off as a leader. And so in that environment, you want to watch it on pullbacks. All right, so the bottom line is you don't always have to look at the new high 52-week high list to find new leaders. However, it is a good idea to keep your eye on indicators like the ones that we have in Little Big View. That's why I posted in Twitter. And you really want to see that new high list over this 100 level. You want to see the new high-low ratio, which you can get the definition of if you go to our site /tutorials. And you want to see it over this 70 level with this growing. Right now it's marginal, but the Q is breaking out to new highs is a time where you want to start looking at market leaders, especially on pullbacks. Hope that helps, and I'll see you in the next video.